Truth be told, I have been sitting on doing this particular series here on Patreon. I've wanted to do it for the better part of 3 years now. There's a couple of reasons why I sat on it for so long. Sorry, the dog is walking around with her nails. Is because one, I had a lot of life happening, and it had to come to a point where I had to realize there's really no point in rushing through one problem, because once you're done with that problem, then here's going to come another one, right? All the time. And that's life. And I'm not saying that life is one big problem whatsoever. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it's when you learn that and you come to some type of acceptance and then you learn to live with that, life gets happier. It gets better because you build up some kind of resistance, right? So I had a lot of life happen in the last 3 years. Not all bad, some of it really wonderful, but some of it pretty substantial. Building blocks, lessons. But anyway, that's one reason. The other reason is because I knew that once this particular thing was started, there is no going back. And I knew that as to be a good thing, and also I had to take some time with it. And it's that I can't shut the door on it because now I've started and I've piqued interests, even my own. But also now, and I was hoping that this would happen, I get these flash floods of memories. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I got to tell that one and all that. So, anyways, hi, my name is Ashley, and welcome back to Don't Say Nothing. I get these flash floods of memories, and it's kind of difficult to follow a timeline because I'm like, oh, I want to jump ahead and say this, and jump ahead and say that. So, starting where I am, my shirt is on inside out. Ain't no fucking way. Hold on. You've got to be kidding me. Oh my gosh. But I had something come up in my mind, and it reminded me of my great grandparents. And I feel like I will talk about them a lot, but I want to just, I guess, introduce them and the impact at that time in my life, how pivotal and important that they were in those memories and those moments. So it's my mom's parents, my great grandparents. I had them until I was 17 and 18 years old. They passed away within 4 months of each other. She passed away, I think, eventually of a broken heart. But during the whole time when my great grandfather had passed, she was so strong still. And she was one holding everybody together. But eventually, she was just so heartbroken that she succumbed to that. So, anyways, my great grandparents were incredible people. I don't even know any other words to describe them. My mama, my mom's mom, at the time, we'll just go to when I first moved in with them. I think it put a strain on my grandparents' relationship. Now, they were awesome as well, but I think it did put some strain on their relationship with me moving in, having their empty nesters. My mom's sister had just moved out and a couple of years ago, and they didn't really get the opportunity to be empty nesters, and they had issues before even me. That maybe is a story for another time, but they were already going through it. And here comes me. And I had always been my mama's baby. I was the first grandbaby. I was both of their firsts, but my mama, I was her baby. She and I were so close, and we still are. But at that time when I moved in, we were even closer. And my pops went hunting every weekend, and we would go to my great grandparents' house. They lived in a small trailer near Lake Eufaula in a tiny little town in Oklahoma called Crowder. And it was 2.5 hours to get there. And even the drives out there were so memorable. We would stop at McDonald's almost every single time and get a snow cone. Oh my gosh. Get a twist cone. And we would listen to, oh my gosh, the music. To this day, I'll hear some of the music we used to listen to, and I will get so emotional and so sentimental about that time. But Randy Travis, Katie Lang, Boys to Men, Bobby Brown, Tracy Lawrence. I mean, there was so much music that my mama and I listened to that, again, to this day, I get so nostalgic and emotional. But it was just trips there were a getaway for both of us. And even though it meant different things to both of us, she was the baby. My grandmother was the youngest of five. And so she was the baby. And she had older siblings and stuff that babied her. She was spoiled rotten by her mom and dad, by everybody. And them going through that, and then she was also hurting over my mother. I was hurting very badly over my mother, and that was our safe haven. That was our place that we went, and nobody, like my great-grandparents especially, grew up together, but they raised their children by putting them before anything. So nobody really understood how this is possible. How is this going on? How is this abandonment happening with me and also my grandmother? And then everyone's just trying to wrap their heads around it. And everyone's got their own stuff going on. So it just many conversations, many nights, all of us stayed up crying, and me kicking and screaming and just wanting my mother back, and it's not fair. And why does she do this to me? And my great grandmother, she, and my great grandfather as well, but she in those moments was such a rock, just such a strong woman and strong person for us. And she's exactly what we needed at that time. And honestly, I don't know where I would be or what I would be doing right now if it weren't for her. But she was also very gifted. And she would tell me before we'd go to bed, she'd be like, I'm going to pray about it, and I'm going to ask for the insights to come to me in my dreams. She was a seer, but she saw everything in her dreams. And we would wake up the next day or whatever, she'd already have breakfast made, big, nice, delicious, huge breakfasts. And she would tell us what she saw in her dream. And sometimes we would meet there. We have this thing that we would say, where do you want to meet in your dreams tonight? And we would say it. And sometimes it would really fucking happen. It was pretty cool. And I did that. I also did that with my oldest daughter for a very long time. I'd say, where you want to meet in our dreams? And sometimes it would happen. And it was pretty cool. It's kind of a thing that she and I had, a little special bonding thing that we had for a good while. And, anyways, in those moments and hearing those things that I really needed to hear and feel was massive. It was having her love and support. They didn't have a lot of money. We never wanted it for anything. Like, there was always food, there was always love, but that's all we needed. That's really all that was necessary in those times. But what they couldn't provide money wise, well, again, we didn't need, that's not what we needed at that time. We needed healing. We needed a place to go. We needed people that we could land on. And that was them for us. And I don't think that I realized until very recently what that point in my grandmother's life must have been. My mom's mom, the one who raised me. I don't think that because first of all, I'm a child. What are they going to say? Here's all our hardships. Just know them so they can fall on you and be a burden to you. It's not really how you raise kids. You don't place your burdens on them, even if it's just simply telling them. You don't do it. And so I never really knew. I felt it, and I like, hey, this isn't really normal. I'm not saying it wasn't normal. I'm just saying I was supposed to be raised by my mom and dad based on what society tells you like a familial structure is supposed to be like. And now my grandparents are raising me, which I was totally, like I said in previous videos, that's what I wanted. Just knowing in my little girl mind that would have been it was the better option for me, this better option. At the time, it's like, it's still hard to process what is going on. And I think everybody knew that it was permanent, but me. I knew it, but I had the hardest time accepting it. I just had this ideology that my mom was going to magic herself better, and at least for a little while she could come live with us, and then once we knew she was back on her feet, then I could go live with my mommy again. And there was the turning point one day at my great grandparents' house, and I was sitting on my grandma Stewart was her name, sitting on her lap, and my mama was on the couch next to her, and she was teaching me how to sew. And I started crying, which is not abnormal for me at that time. I did it all the time. And my mama would always comfort me. And so I got up to go sit on mama's lap, and my grandma Stewart she said, no one should sit with me on this one. And so I stayed in her lap, and she said, look, honey, I don't remember verbatim, but because in that moment I was just breaking down and whatever, but she was like, look, your mom wasn't able to love you the way that you need to be loved, the way that your mama does, the way that I do. And she looked at both of us and was like, but that's not our fault. Because I don't know why I felt like sometimes I did feel like it was my fault. And I know that my mama felt like it was her fault because she would tell me all the time if I had done this different in this moment and this moment. But my grandma Stewart got pretty firm with us, and she said, I'm tired of hearing it. I'm tired of y'all breaking my heart with that. And I'm tired of your hearts breaking, feeling that way. And she said, I just won't stand for it anymore. And again, this was probably a couple of years after I had moved in with my grandparents. But she was like, this is it. This is the way that this is why God put us all in each other's lives. This is why Sandra Gell, which is my mom, brought you into this world for us to love you, for us to raise you, for your mama and papa to raise you. And that's just how it's going to be. She said, one of these days, honey, you're going to write a book and you're going to help a lot of people and a lot of good will come out of this. She's like, but we have to start right now and we have to stop blaming ourselves. And she's like, and I just won't hear it anymore. And oddly, that unburdened me because it also unburdened my mama. And when we were unburdened with that, and I just remember it was the craziest thing. God, this is it. This is permanent and this is it. And we were unburdened and we took that responsibility off of ourselves, especially her, because I know she took so much blame for that. But then that's when everything started kind of changing. I gave myself permissions to make friends and do stuff like that. But at that time, of this moment in particular, no one had seen her, my mom, or heard from her or anything at all. I'm talking serious ghosting. Ghosting wasn't even a thing back then, but it was 100% no contact. There was no reaching out to see if I'm okay. There was nothing. There was just we didn't know where she was. No cell phones, no social media at that time. There was no one we could ask. We didn't know anybody in her circle. There was just no possible way. She purposely hid from us, I think, and was doing drugs. And come to find out later, she had gone to prison a few times and she was involved in being the witness of a murder. And it was a lot. But my great grandparents, if it hadn't been for the people that they are and the structure that they created for my mama, and then growing up, and then for us in that time, I don't know where any of us in that entire family would be, honestly. My grandparents staying together, which was the best thing that they could have done, even through their marital issues or whatever, really set the stage for the rest of what was to come from my life and my kids, and then my cousins and everything. It just literally, I think all the time to those memories and to those moments. If it weren't for those two, Kenneth and Pauline Stewart, so many lives would not be the way that they are right now. And I want to give them credit as a very foundational, important in my life because, again, they are my favorite people ever, besides my mom and papa. They're my favorite people in the entire world. And their love and just undying, constant support and structure really saved our lives so many times over and over again. We could have just collapsed and gave up and they wouldn't let us. And so anyway, I'm going to end it here, a short episode just to honor them and to say thank you. I I still am connected to them very much so. There is one story I can tell a long, long time ago. I was probably 18 years old, maybe 19, and I lost a very important piece of jewelry. It was very important to me. And I hadn't seen them in a long time. They had already passed away, but they had not come to me in a really long time. And it was in my dreams, it was both of them. And it was just, I hugged them, I felt them, I smelled them, we talked. And when they used to come to me very little in and out of my dreams, there was no talking or anything like that. It was just like, hey, I'm here kind of feeling. But we talked, we had a conversation. She foretold certain things that were about to happen to me and all of these things that I was going to experience. And he laughed and held on to her and embraced me. And we were sitting on the back porch. And then they got up to leave. They were like, okay, we've got to go. And then they told me where that piece of jewelry was because I asked. I need something. I always do, but that's another, I think, early on in the beginning of things, I learned to ask for something in the physical as confirmation, or just if it's something so I'll know. And that was it. That was my thing that they gave me after that conversation. And there's so many things that we talked about that I still think about from that dream to this day. But I carry them with me. I wouldn't be who I am without them. And there's no doubt about that. All right. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next week, Tuesday and Thursday.